Hey everyone, welcome back to another round of Q&A with Matt K, where Chris Stegall of Creme de la CRM, and joined once again by Matt Kaufman. Hi Matt.
Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Pretty good. And it is time for Matt to sit in the hot seat. We are going to put some Salesforce Trailblazer questions and queries in front of him and give the audience some insight into how admins, devs, Salesforce partners troubleshoot and solve customer and community questions just like these. So um, the rules are simple. Matt does not know the questions ahead of time. He is not allowed to Google.
Well,
And
sometimes I do,
yeah. Well,
but but then I tell you that I'm doing it. It's I don't do it on a separate monitor or
yeah,
anything.
the punishments are not capital. So
Yeah,
if Googling is necessary, it's not like the end of the world. But we do our
yeah,
best to answer them, with the knowledge in our head, both to illustrate, what's possible when you have a bunch of experience in the Salesforce ecosystem, sort of the way that there's often multiple approaches to the same solution. I think a lot of the times we end up giving people multiple answers. It's like,
yeah,
here's how to do it. Or if you want to do it even better, do it this
yeah.
way. Wait, hold on. I just refactored it again. Um, so,
So they
and
should be watching the video backwards.
exactly. And also, presumably, to give folks some insight into like, hey, if you were stuck on a desert island, Google was down, you'd be able to do it. But also, like, if we can solve it in 30 minutes without Google, then presumably you, with the power of the internet,
Yeah,
can probably find a solution pretty quickly yourself too.
yeah.
So
Especially
I
if there's a
was,
video about it.
yeah, I was so busy yapping, I forgot to do my banners. So that is the title of this series. If you do have your own questions, please go ahead over to go.mkp.dev/Q&A. You can submit your questions there. I have learned that this URL is case sensitive, so I will drop it in the comments of the video here
Sounds
in
like
the
a feature
description.
request to me.
What's that?
Sounds like a feature request to me to
Yeah,
not make it case sensitive.
that's true. I'm going to submit that as a question. Can we fix this?
Yeah,
And also, if you like the series, please do be sure to like and subscribe. It means a lot. I get a little notification in my inbox, which makes me happy. It also makes the numbers on the screen go up, and it helps boost these videos to other Trailblazers who are on YouTube watching similar content, which helps generate more questions, which generates more answers, which means more help for the community. So, with that said, let's go ahead and jump into our first question here. I do have my screen obfuscated so that Matt
okay.
can't see the questions. And first up, and again, I don't know if these have enough information to answer, is I am getting the same error in all different versions of command SFDX, of versions of command.
Yeah.
And the error is SFDX create project resulted in an error. Command SFDX project generate not found. Please provide the right solution.
Well, I am familiar with things on the screen that we are reading right now, so I can at least talk to it. I don't know if I can necessarily provide the right solution, but I'll do my best to give out some possible solutions because I don't think I'm going to be able to recreate this error myself.
Okay.
So we're talking about the Salesforce CLI, which is a command line interface. So it's a tool that you run on your computer in the command line or terminal. And typically it's developers usually that are using it along with VS Code or some other code editor tool to interact with the Salesforce API. And so we might say retrieve metadata, right? So like I want to start working on fixing some Apex in the org, so I would retrieve the metadata. There's a CLI command to do that retrieve. There's a CLI command to do a deploy, and so on and so forth. The name of the tool used to be called SFDX, and so when you wanted to run a command, you would type in SFDX. Actually, you know what, Chris? Why don't you share my screen
Okay.
and send me a link, and I'll keep that one open.
Okay. That is your
And I'm going to
screen.
jump here because I actually am in VS Code, not by coincidence, but because I usually have it open for these calls. And thank you for sharing the link. I'll go ahead and open it as well. So we have it open. Here it is. And so SFDX used to be the name of the tool. Technically, it still works. So I can actually come here and say SFDX, and I'll just do version because I don't want to do anything too crazy. And we can see that it's installed. But there's actually a new version of the tool. I don't want to use the version, but a new flavor of it called SF. So the Salesforce CLI is now called SF, not SFDX. The old commands are backwards compatible. So you can see here, even though I ran SFDX here and I ran SF here, the same results came. Because what they basically did is they took all the commands that were available in SFDX and they added them to SF and said, from now on, just use SF, don't use SFDX. And this is well documented. I'll pull up the documentation, but I will have to probably Google it since we talked about it. SF CLI, and I'll put Salesforce just to be safe. And here we can see the Salesforce CLI. So, and you can see how to install it. There's a bunch of instructions. There's some prerequisites that you have to have and things like that. Once you have it installed, then you can use these commands from the terminal to, and you can see SFDX is deprecated here, to interact with the metadata API. Now, some of the commands don't actually interact with the metadata API. They may just work locally on your computer. So for instance, the version 1, we didn't talk to the Salesforce server to find out the locally installed version. And so when we look at this, this command that they're having a problem with, the project generate, I'm pretty sure that's a local command. So it's creating what's called a scaffold, which is basically just a folder structure and file structure of a new project in your code editor, in this case, VS Code. And so if we were to look at the SFDX, it should have a project create or something similar to it in here. I don't necessarily know where it is, but it would be something we could probably look at it here. Let's go create.
It looks like it's project generate is the command in the query, in the question here.
Yeah, here it is. So the word that you type on the screen versus the behind the scenes commands can be slightly different. So I think that's what's happening here. So SFDX project generate not found. Well, it used to be. Here's a create one. Let's see if there is a project generate. That might be why it's not found. Let's just double check. So what it sounds like what's happening is maybe the mapping between the old commands and the new commands or something like that is not right in this particular version that he's using. I don't know. But the answer to his question, assuming that it's just a mapping issue, like choosing the wrong words on the screen, the wrong command, the answer is use the new command. So if we look at this, we can see here it tells you what to do. It says this command is deprecated. We no longer maintain this section, et cetera, et cetera. It says that the command should still work, but maybe it doesn't. And so here, let's just look at project generate. So this is what he should be typing in, not SFDX project generate, but SF project generate. And so I think the correct response is basically to do this. And I'm just going to go ahead and post that to you, Chris. Use this command, and I'll go ahead and just copy this, and I'll type it in just so everyone can see it, what it looks like. So SF project generate, name my work, which is a terrible name, and it just created a new folder in here, which is not what I wanted, so I'm going to delete that. But you can see here, this is the my work folder, and it basically has a whole, like I said, a project file and folder structure built into it. And so then you typically start working in this and connect it to an org and retrieve the metadata and deploy the metadata and so on and so forth. I'm going to just delete that because I don't want it. But we can see here all the things that one command did. It created all these files and folders. So that's the answer. The answer is use the new command instead. Now there's a chance that won't work. It's possible that there's some other error, the dependency is not installed, or something's corrupted on the computer, but there's no way to know that from this question. I think that the first thing to try, so it's not necessarily the right solution, but the first thing to try would be try using the new command, not the SFDX command.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I have updated the question there for Maruf, and it looks like we have time for another question.
Yeah, let's go for it.
So I'm going to put hey, there it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to put my screen back on. I'm going to throw the next question banner on there. And this one comes from Caroline. Caroline? Either way. Preserving line breaks and generating docs from a list view. I've searched but have not been able to find definitive answers to two questions about OmniScript document generation functionality. Is it possible to preserve line breaks from a long text area? They come through in the extract as /n and are non-existent in the output. Similar question without an answer here. We love it when people do their own research prior to asking their question. We'd like to be able to choose multiple records from a list view, click a button, and generate documents, sort of like generating donation letters. Is it possible to do without code? And then 1.2a, if this is possible, the client will probably want to automatically email the document to a contact specified on the record as well.
Because
I
if you're
threw this
asking
on there because I feel
for
like,
one thing, you might as well ask for everything.
yeah. I threw this one on there because I feel like the app that you have built, Mambo Merge, might be the solution to some of these.
Yeah. This is a good question. I am a little familiar with OmniScript document generation. I'm also familiar with issues like line breaks coming through as a /n instead of the actual line break that you want, the carriage return. I'm curious about that similar question without an answer here. Would you mind maybe opening that one too? Because maybe that one has an actual example. Okay, yeah, see, that's what I was hoping. We did not plan that. But it looks like this one was posted just a couple months ago, which makes sense because it's a fairly new feature. And document template through OmniScript and retain the line breaks in my output document. I haven't tested it, but there's a couple different ways to do a line break in code. And it's not that there's a couple different ways that are all the same. It's that depending on what's going on in the Omni Studio document generator, it may be that you need one of the other types of line breaks. So let me share my screen.
Sure.
And I'm just using this as a place to type. So that people can maybe see what I'm talking about. In fact, maybe I should not do it in an Apex class. I will create a new file here, and we'll just call this notes dot txt because I can't think of which file type I should create. Okay, so /n was what we were just looking at. So hello /n world. And again, depending on what the code is doing behind the scenes, /n sometimes is a carriage return, meaning that when it was printed, it would look like this. Actually, there'd be a space there, and then actually there would be a space there. So because there's a space here after this /n, there would be a space here. So if I didn't want that space, I would delete that, and it would look like this. Now that's one possibility, but apparently it's not working. So let's actually rewrite this. Let's just say desired result is this, right? And attempt 1, let me get a space there, was this hello /world, and then we'll just put here, failed. So that one didn't work. There's another thing they could try. By the way, it shouldn't matter if there's a space there. So that's not it. Okay, so then some other things that I would try, and I don't have Omni Studio or the document generator set up to try this. That's why I'm just kind of writing down my notes. We can try to test it out, but it's going to require me to set it up, and we don't have that. And I'm not going to know if this fails or not. But sometimes what you have to do is escape the special set of characters. And so what that means is you put a / in front of it to say, hey, the next thing is special. Don't treat it as plain text. And so they may need to do that. They may need to escape it in order to do that. And so that's what I would recommend trying that first. The other thing they could try, there's another type of carriage return, like I said earlier, /r is also a type of carriage return. And so it may be that. I find that it's probably not likely to be that, because if so, we wouldn't see the /n, we would see like something else, right?
All right.
So to me, it seems like they probably need to escape the /n or not use a / type of carriage return. So then attempt 4, I would say, well, what if you used HTML? So in HTML, an escape is actually a line break. So that's how we would do it, not an escape. But carriage return is a line break, and so we'd use the BR tag or just BR without the ending. and see if that works. And then I'm just going to call this is the what they tried already. This would be escaping the special character, which is probably not the right term. This one is using /r instead of /n. I guess technically we should probably also do this. I just don't think that it's gonna make a difference. And then there's here, and then there's this chance that we need to go even beyond this. So every once in a while, hopefully not too often, but every once in a while, you have to do something really crazy like double escape. And the reason is because there's like interpreters in front of the actual thing that runs the code. And so you have to tell the interpreter, hey, I'm about to, I need to escape something. And then they say, okay, we'll pass on the following to the code. And then they pass on the next, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so every once in a while you have to double escape. This one was use BR instead. And then every once in a while, you not only have to escape, but you also have to encode. And so now we're going to go like all the possible permutations, right? So what encoding does is instead of using the actual character, we encode it using a URL encoding, typically, although it could be a different type of encoding, and pass that on. And I don't know off the top of my head the URL encoding for /n. So I'm just going to use this website. And so that's what it is. So to a computer, this actually looks like /n under certain circumstances, even though to us, we're like, what the heck is %5c? %5c in a URL is a slash. And so we would do this. Oops. Why can I not get my H to show up there? Slash. All right. So, and I would basically do this brute force kind of, process of trying out different things to figure out what is correct. Again, time being a factor, and the fact that I don't have an org with this feature enabled means that I can't do this right now, but we could do it at a later time. The other option, which you hinted at the beginning in the setup, was, okay, just use a different tool. Don't use this built-in tool to do this because maybe it has too many limitations, whether it's the escaping or the ability to do multiple. I think you can do multiple records. I think you could chain, a couple different flows together to get this to work in Omni Studio. But you could use another tool that maybe is pre-built to do it, such as Mama Merge, because Mama Merge is actually pre-built to work from a list view and generate multiple documents, either one document with multiple pages or one document per record or any combination of that even. And then you won't have to worry about this. And the nice thing about it is that is the template is just a Word doc or a PowerPoint. And so most people have that skill set. They don't have to do any escaping at all. If you can create a Word doc or a Google doc or whatever tool you want to use to create a docx file, it's a WYSIWYG editor. It's easy to use, and it just shows the way it's going to look when it's done. That's going to be a lot easier than trying to figure this stuff out, especially if you have to get down to double escaping or URL encoding or anything like that. That'll be really hard to get it to look right. But that's what I would recommend is either, okay, go through this exercise of testing out a bunch of different stuff and hope that it fixes the problem without causing a new problem, because that often happens. Or just use an app that already has those features and is easier to use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not super familiar with Omni Studio Developer. So does Caroline have the ability to, like before the extract, dictate how the extract is going to represent that line break? Or would her action come after the extract and say, hey, in the extract, when you see /n, now append another escape character in front of that or replace it with
Yeah, that's a good question. I assume that she is using built-in functionality to get the data and not calling Apex. So it would have to occur after the data has been retrieved,
Okay.
and then having to do some type of assign it to a variable, but like substitute or something like that. That should be possible, but one of the things that's difficult to do in any situation, and not just Omni Studio, is replacing special stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
so if we didn't replace /n with /n, that is probably going to be really hard to get right. And you may have to then double escape it to do that type of thing. And one of the problems with using a tool like this is now she's going to have to add additional steps to her process just to see the result of the substitution or the replacement to make sure that it actually happened and happened the way she expected.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we don't know if the resulting document failed because the substitution didn't work or because of the document generation not working. So it's going to be a lot of work. Yeah, the more we talk about it, I'm like, oh gosh, this does not sound fun. So I don't have an answer. I don't know if I even want to spend the time to figure it out.
Yeah.
When I have a tool that already does it, I really have no reason to figure it out, unless the answer that I figure out is, oh, it can't be done, so now you have to use my tool. But someone might not believe me.
Yeah.
So I think this is a great starting point. This is what you can try. Good luck.
Yeah. And I think that's a good illustration of like the right approach to Salesforce problems too is check the app exchange
Yeah,
because you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You might have what seems like a fairly simple situation where, hey, there's a line break in my rich text field. Why isn't that line break carrying over? And it turns out there's potentially a lot of reasons why and a
right.
lot of work going into fixing that. And so, theoretically, somebody might have already addressed that.
Yeah, um, that's true. Like sometimes we do have to say it's not possible. Let's come up with another solution altogether. Yeah,
Yeah. And I think we might have time for one more. So
yeah.
I'm going to
Let's do
throw
it.
it up
That
to
one, yeah, because that one I don't know if I actually answered. So let's do another.
this one is we would like to replace our donation pages with customized Salesforce pages. I understand that we can add PayPal payment gateways on a Visualforce page. Is it possible to also add a checkbox for recurring donation directly on the form?
And this was posted this year,
April
yesterday.
23rd was yesterday
Okay.
because the Visualforce, is that
Yeah, the
why?
visual force. Yeah, that threw me off. I was like, what? So I mean, yeah, if you're creating a custom visual force page, you can do whatever you want on it, essentially. Um, you could definitely put a checkbox that says this is a recurring agent. I like it seems like there's some gap here. Something is
Okay.
either not clicking or the question's missing some aspect to it, because I would assume someone that knows how to create visual force pages knows that they can just put a checkbox on there. Um, of course, then you have to make that checkbox do something. So
Right.
the conversation, the integration with PayPal with their API would then have to say, hey, this is a recurring donation. This is not a single. So either I'm totally missing something on this question, or we're just not communicating well. Um,
Yeah. When I read
I
it, my instinct was that sounds doable.
Yeah, so yeah, yes, a developer could do it as the answer. I would recommend not starting with Visual Force. I would recommend starting with Lightning Web Components, because it will be easier to maintain over time. It should also be easier to find resources that can work with them. So Lightning Web Components are built with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and not Visual Force, which can include that stuff, but also is proprietary, and so you have to have a little more experience with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, unless there's like a specific visual horse page that they already have, maybe, or somehow have access to, maybe from an app. That could be it. So the answer is yes. A developer can add a checkbox to a custom built visual force page, but, and there's like now there's a huge but, um, If it's not a custom built Visualforce page, they may not be able to. So if it's included, if that Visualforce page is part of a package, they may not be able to. And the more modern way of creating custom screens is using Lightning Web Components, not Visualforce.
Okay.
So we would definitely recommend doing it in that instead.
Cool.
Oh man,
Well
this
then,
is like a downer. I'm always hyped up to like actually build a solution. And these last two have been like bad news, Matt.
yeah.
You
Well,
can
this I have one more,
okay.
but
All right.
I'm not so sure that it's going to be better news.
Oh
Um,
no.
but I thought that there was a chance that you would have some insight because I know you gave that talk at TDX about AI chatbots. This
Yes.
question
Einstein chat.
is: can the chat button be made unavailable when agents with chat skills are not available?
Yes. I already know the answer. Yes, you can do that. I believe so. Feel free to try to find the video of me giving my talk if there is one. But when you create an Einstein bot, you're presented through a couple of steps in a wizard. And one of the first steps is, do you want this to be a standard bot or an advanced one? Or I believe that's the word. The standard one will be no, because it won't have routing based on skills. But if you choose advanced, yes, you can route based on skills. And the button. Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Let me just read this real quick, because normally skills are based on something that the customer or the visitor to the website has said they need help with.
Hmm.
Right. So I need help with billing. Then it checks, are any of our billing agents available? But I still say the answer is yes, because it sounds like what they're saying is it's not so much this. They have a bunch of agents. Some of the agents are phone people. Some of the agents are chat people. But then it's not really a skills question to me. Really, it's a kind of even before then. If you only licensed the people who are gonna use chat, and none of those people are available, then the button can be grayed out. Yeah. Normally, what you want to do though, just if we're going to go through best practices, you actually want to have an Einstein bot. So this is not talking about Einstein bots. This is actually talking about live chat. I think the answer is still yes. But I would recommend getting an Einstein bot instead, because it allows you to deflect chats by proposing, hey, it sounds like you're asking this question. Maybe this is the answer from our knowledge base. And if the person says no, then you say, okay, no problem. Okay, I'll still help you. But before I transfer you to a live agent, if there is one available, could you tell me what your email address is? Could you tell me what your phone number is? Could you tell me what edition you're using? Things like that. And all of that gets collected and then passed on to the agent, so they don't have to ask. And that provides a much better experience. But yes, so you threw me off there when you said
Yeah.
Einstein bots or AI bots. I assumed that this was a question about Einstein bots. This is actually just a question about live chat. The answer is definitely yes. If you have no active agents available, then the button will be grayed out. And then I would recommend upgrading to an Einstein bot before routing to your agents, and you'll hopefully deflect some calls and provide faster experience and a better experience to those that end up going all the way through to the chat.
And is that just a default setting then, that when none of your licensed chat users are logged in, it'll be grayed out, or is there a button, like a switch you need to flip to do that?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer off the top of my head. I know with the Einstein bot, I believe is a default setting. I
I'm
don't
assuming
remember what
I'm
the standard is.
assuming it's not a default setting here. Otherwise, the question wouldn't have
Right.
been asked if it was just like, "Hey,
Yeah.
it's working."
Yeah. So I don't know off the top of my head. When you set up these chat buttons, there's two aspects to it. There's the configuration inside Salesforce setup that you have to set up, and then it provides you with some snippet of code that you have to put on your website. And so it may be that it's set up in one place but not the other. That's a possibility. And so you might have to regenerate the code if it wasn't set properly when it was first generated. That's a possibility. For a 1.5 sentence question, it's hard to give very specific answers, but this
Yeah.
is doable. It's definitely doable.
Okay.
How can it be resolved? I can try to do a Google search if you want to share my screen. I could try to do the Google search and figure it out. Okay.
Sure.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to search for Salesforce chat, and we're going to say agent offline. Well, this is the opposite, so it's not this one. Chat agent is an online service, but the chat button shows offline. So this person's having the right. Obviously, it can show offline. If this person has a problem, that it's always offline.
Yeah.
So okay, so this question did talk about skills-based routing, and so maybe it's it's possible that they didn't set up the right people with the right skills. Maybe that everybody has the skills. I'm not sure. But you can see here, there's a lot of different ways to kind of get the button to be grayed out. Essentially, one is the people are actually not online. Two is people are online, but it's not the right people, so that they don't have the right skills. Three is actually based on capacity. So you can actually say one employee is able to work on 4 chats at a time, right? That's what it's saying here. You could also say only 2 though. And through all of these things, it's going to kind of control the end user's experience when they're visiting your website, whether that looks like they can have a chat or not. But this person's saying, well, they're not saying that they're having the problem. They're just saying, can you? And the answer is yes. Look how many different ways there are to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's built in, but it definitely seems like it's the defaults, and there's so many different ways that it would be offline. So it's kind of, if this person has it set to if the button is showing that it's always online, I think the issue is actually a skills mismatch. I think that they have too many people listed with the same skills that they really shouldn't. And so it looks like those people are available when they're not. Let's check my org. Maybe I have it in this org, but I don't. Yeah, see, I don't think I do. The other thing is I don't know what there is legacy chat or the new one, messaging. Let me do that. And I don't really want to enable it in this org. Let me just see if messaging is enabled. No, it's not enabled either. I don't want to enable it in this org. It's gonna. Okay,
I mean,
so
that's okay. I feel like like you said, for a sentence and a half,
yeah,
that was a very thorough answer. We know that the inverse of their problem is possible and more common potentially, since that was the top search result. So that means that there are people that would love to have this problem.
right.
And so the middle ground must exist somewhere. And I think we got a good start for us to send over their way.
Okay. But yeah, so I think the first question is, are they using messaging or are they using legacy chat? If it is legacy chat, then we would go through these help files here, and we can see here the configurations. Yeah, this isn't even showing the specific settings, but this kind of walks you through how to do it, and then how to create the chat buttons. I remember the PDF guide when this first came out was a very long PDF. So there are probably a lot of different settings, but just based on the question, I think the issue is not so much that it's configured wrong. I think just the end users don't have the right skills. And so it's saying that people are available when they're really not. That's my guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that concludes another successful run of Q&A with Matt K. You did not have to run away this time. We did do some Googling, but the world didn't end. And we had a solution already. It was just okay, well, let's see if, we could find where the buttons are to flip to actually make this happen.
Yeah.
To recap quickly, we took a look at a command line, a CLI error that seemed to be due to using a deprecated command, that SFDX instead of SF. We took a look at generating documents and preserving line breaks from rich text fields, which actually involved a couple of different questions. We took a look at replacing donation pages with visual force pages and adding
Mhm.
a checkbox for recurring PayPal payments there, and an issue with chat and agents showing as available when in fact it was the weekend and there was nobody available. Um, and what can be done about that? So, thank you once again, Matt, for doing that and being willing to answer 4 questions on the fly instead of just one.
Yeah, happy to do it. I think it is a good insight into kind of like the life of a Salesforce consultant. It's jumping around a lot and trying to figure things out. It's nice when something that you worked on earlier ends up applying to what you're working on now, but often it is just trying to remember something that you worked on 2 years ago, and it's totally different than what you were working on just a couple minutes ago.
Yeah. And probably if you're an admin with enough users under you, you don't even need to be a consultant to be getting questions like this from
That's
4
true
different
too. Yeah,
departments, from 4 different things. And you're like, I was at a talk at Dreamforce 2 years ago and I saw somebody talk about this. I have
yep,
no idea who it was, but let me find it.
yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, it's just these are a cool thing for us to do weekly. And if you enjoy watching them and have questions of your own, please do submit them over at go.mkp.dev/Q&A or drop them in the comments right here. And then we can add them to the queue. You will get priority over the Trailblazer community. But if that's all too much for you, feel free to throw them up on the Trailblazer community where we go to solicit these questions or access these questions. Um, the upside is you'll potentially get more responses. The downside is they probably won't be as interesting or accurate as our responses, and
So,
they might clutter up the works. And then once again, one last plea, please do like and subscribe if you are enjoying these videos so that other Trailblazers might find them and hopefully find them helpful. And as always, thank you for watching. And Matt, thank you for doing these. And we'll see you next time.